Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified. Here we will take up the news articles from The Hindu Delhi edition and discuss them as per the demands of UPSC Civil Services exam. The topics for today's discussion are listed on your screen. Let us begin our discussion. The first article of today's discussion is based on this particular news, which has appeared on page number 3 in The Hindu. It basically talks about a resolution which is passed by Tamil Nadu State Assembly requesting Government of India to amend the constitution to extend the statutory protection, rights, concessions, including reservation to scheduled caste members who have converted to Christianity. So it deals with an important topic of reservation. It is important for General Studies paper 2 of UPSC mains exam, where a sub-theme of social justice is directly mentioned, and it includes welfare scheme for vulnerable sections, the mechanisms, laws and institutions for the protection and betterment of vulnerable sections. So the topic of reservation becomes important for our discussion, and as you can see in the year 2019, in which UPSC has directly asked a question on reservation, and it is related to the reservation of women in the local self-government institutions. And similarly in 2018, UPSC has asked a question on National Commission of Scheduled Caste, which plays an important role for the welfare of scheduled caste people. As we have seen the relevance of this topic, we will first try to analyze what the reservation is, why it was brought in, and what are the recent debates revolving around reservation, the issues involved, and a way forward. First of all, we will see what the reservation is. It is a form of affirmative action whereby a percentage of seats are reserved for socially and educationally backward communities and for SC/STs in government jobs and educational institutions in order to address the inadequate representation of these communities in services and institutions. And why this reservation was brought in? It addresses the exclusion of people who suffered from social and political marginalization and are also excluded from joining the mainstream. And it also fulfills the constitutional mandate under Article 46 of DPSPs. Now what this article says? Article 46 says the state shall promote with special care the educational and economic interests of weaker section of people, in particular scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. So affirmative action is one of the social mandate which is given to the state by the constitution itself. Now we will see what are the constitutional provisions associated with reservation. Article 15 subclause 4 allows the state to make special provision for the advancement of socially and educationally backward communities, specifically scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. And through the 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 2006, this provision was further extended for admissions in educational institutions. Further, Article 16 subclause 4 talks about the provision for reservation of appointments or posts in favor of backward class of citizens which are not adequately represented in the services under state. It also empowers the state to make provisions for reservation in the matter of promotion for SC/ST employees. So the promotion clause is also there for SC/ST people. And Article 46 we have discussed previously, which forms the part of DPSP, and it includes the constitutional instructions given to state for the welfare of weaker sections of society. Now whether this provision of reservation is indefinite or it is limited for certain period of years. And Constitution of India gives the power to Parliament to extend the provision of reservation by 10 years if the state is of the opinion that certain sections of society are still not adequately represented in services and educational institutions. And by 104th Constitutional Amendment Act 2019, which amended Article 334 of Indian Constitution to extend reservation of seats for SCs and STs up to 10 years in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. Here we have seen the constitutional provisions regarding reservation in India. You can mention these articles while writing your answer for the affirmative action or reservation specifically. Further, we will see what is this EWS, known as Economically Weaker Section, and by 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 2019, 10% reservation was provided to economically weaker section of society over and above the existing reservation in government jobs and educational institutions. And it also inserted two new articles, Article 15 subclause 6 and 16 subclause 6. It was also done to fulfill the objectives which are mentioned under Article 46. Now, as we have discussed the basic things about reservation, now we will see what are the recent debates regarding reservation. The first one is subcategorization of OBCs. As OBCs are granted 27% reservation in government jobs and educational institutions, and there were concerns among the OBCs that only certain section of OBC group is obtaining the benefits provided for reservation. To equalize the benefits, subcategorization of OBCs was proposed and Justice Rohini Commission was made for that particular purpose. So it is an important debate which is revolving around reservation. The next one is dominant castes demanding reservation. As we have seen previously, Marathas, Patidars and Kapus, they have been protesting and asking for reservations through their recognition as OBCs. Now, why these dominant castes are demanding reservation? The first reason can be agrarian crisis, as all these castes are agrarian based communities and are directly or indirectly affected by agrarian crisis. The another reason is unemployment. The economic growth has not been able to absorb the increasing labor force entering the job market and to get entry into government jobs. These categories are demanding reservation. It can be one of the reasons. The next one is vote bank politics. Political mobilization of caste groups on the lines of reservation serves the vested interest of political parties and leaders, and they try to mobilize people from these particular castes to meet their interests. And the last one is resentment against other backward communities. Due to the successful affirmative action and other policies, the socio-economic gap between lower caste and intermediate castes have decreased, and this resulted in resentment among the dominant castes. These can be the four broad reasons. The next one is reservation to Muslims and Christians. Currently, the constitutional right to reservation in jobs and education as a member of SC community is extended only to Hindus, Sikhs or Buddhist faiths, and they are not being extended to Muslims and they are not extended to Christians and Muslims. And this we have discussed in the description that Tamil Nadu State Assembly has requested Indian government to provide benefits of reservation to people who have converted to Christianity. And the last one is local reservation in private sector. Haryana State Assembly has passed an act in 2020 providing 75% of the private jobs will be reserved for the people of the state. And a similar kind of act was passed by Andhra Pradesh. So these are the major debates which are revolving around reservation, in the country. And what is the stand of judiciary in this particular regard? The two important cases which deals with reservation are mentioned here. The first one is Indra Sahni and others versus Union of India case 1992. In this case, Supreme Court upholds the 27% quota for OBCs, and it also upheld that the reservation should not extend to more than 50%. And the next one is M. Nagraj versus Union of India case 2006. In this case, Supreme Court said that state is not bound to provide reservation in promotion to SCs and STs. And if in any case state wish to make such provision, it is required to collect quantifiable data on backward class, prove its inadequate representation in public employment, and also show that efficiency of administration will not be impacted by such provision. Additionally, the state was also required to ensure that reservation should not breach the 50% ceiling. So whenever you come across a question on reservation or affirmative action, you can quote these cases to bring authenticity in your answer. Now we will see what are the issues which are involved with reservation. The first one is debate around meritocracy. As one of the main arguments against reservation is that it goes against the principle of meritocracy, which is the idea that individuals should be rewarded based on their abilities and hard work rather than their social background. And many people argues that reservation policies favor candidates from certain categories or communities regardless of their abilities and qualifications. Therefore, it undermines the concept of meritocracy. The next one is limited impact. Now, what does this mean? While the reservation has been in place for several decades, it has not been able to fully address the issue of caste-based discrimination and inequality, and it only benefited a small section of society, leaving the majority of Dalits and other marginalized groups. The next one is backlash from dominant castes. As we all know, reservation has often been met with resistance from dominant castes who sees it as a threat to their own interests and privileges. And this has led to tensions and conflicts between different castes, and in some cases, it also resulted into violence. The next one is political manipulation. Reservation policies have been used by political parties as a tool to gain votes and power, which has led to the creation of caste-based political alliances and the use of reservation quotas as a bargaining chip in electoral politics. And it also leads to polarization of society. The next one is inadequate implementation. Despite the existence of reservation policies, many institutions and organizations continue to discriminate against marginalized groups. As we can see from this particular data of Indian Institute of Madras, in which 265 professors are from general category, 35 from OBC, 7 from SC and 1 from ST. And it highlights a huge disparity among different castes. And similarly for the number of women who are enrolled in PhD programs, 196 are from general category, 27 are from scheduled caste and 5 are from STs. These trends highlight that the implementation of reservation policies is still inadequate in our country. And the last one is against unity and integrity. The caste-based reservation and political alliances propagates the feeling of subnationalism or regionalism, and it may hinder national unity and integrity. So we have seen the 6 issues involved with reservation and how it is impacting each and every section of our society. Now what can be the way forward to deal with this particular issue? The first one is effective implementation. As one of the biggest challenges with reservation system is the lack of effective implementation. So there is need to ensure that the reservation policies are implemented in transparent and efficient manner so the benefits will reach the intended beneficiary. The second one is expand the scope of reservation. Reservation policies should be expanded to include other marginalized groups such as transgenders and differently abled people so that all the sections of society can avail the benefits which are provided by state. The next one is address the issue of creamy layer. Now what is this creamy layer? It refers to the affluent sections within reserved category who takes the benefit from reservation policies and may not necessarily require them. So there is need to exclude the creamy layer from reservation benefits to ensure that the benefits reach the most disadvantaged section. So government can also plan a scheme of creamy layer for SC and STs also. The next one is encourage merit-based affirmative action. For example, institutions can adopt diversity targets so that people from different categories and regions will be provided admissions, scholarships or mentorship programs to support the underprivileged section. The fifth one is quality education. Improving the quality education in marginalized communities is critical to reduce their dependence on reservation policies. So, states should promote investments in education infrastructure, teacher training, and curriculum development. The last one is social awareness and dialogue. Now, how it will benefit? Creating social awareness around the issues of caste and reservation is important to promote greater understanding and the acceptance of the need for affirmative action. And it can be done through public education campaigns, media outreach, and community engagement programs. Overall, reservation in India is a complex issue that needs to be approached with nuance and sensitivity. While it has helped to address some forms of inequality, it has also created new challenges that needs to be addressed. In this way, you can conclude your answer. To summarize our discussion, first of all, we have discussed the context, its relevance for General Studies Paper 2. We have also seen the mains questions. We discussed what reservation is, why it was brought in, what are the constitutional provisions regarding reservation, economically weaker section, the recent debates, important judgments, the issues involved in reservation, and a way forward. Now we will discuss one case study which is based on this news and it has appeared on page number 3 in The Hindu. It basically talks about a shutdown by student organizations who are demanding 100% reservation in state government jobs, and it has impacted the everyday life of the residents who are staying there. With the help of this news article, we will try to understand the ethical issues involved in such cases of shutdown, and it is directly related to the General Studies 4 ethics paper. Whenever you come across such news articles, try to identify the ethical issues involved in that particular case and also brainstorm the solutions which you can provide if a case study on that particular issue is given to you in the mains exam. Now we will try to analyze the ethical issues involved in this case. The first one can be the failure of state. As people of the state are compelled to hold statewide shutdown, it means their demands are not being fulfilled by the state, which is morally and legally obliged to ensure the welfare of its subjects. Failure of state is an important ethical issue. The second one is poor governance. Statewide strikes negatively affects the general public and it also impacts their daily life. So state administration should be ready to create alternatives for negatively affected services by such strikes. The next one is means compromised for aims or ends. Protesters are compromising the means for their ends because to persuade government to listen to their demand, it is not ethical to disturb the order in the society, as it can lead to violence and which further result into deaths. In this particular case, means are compromised for ends. The next one is against the spirit of constitution. Demanding 100% reservation for locals in government jobs is against Article 16 and Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which provides equal right to get employment in any state of the country, and it is also against right to equality under Article 14. It is an important issue in this particular case. The next one is against the categorical imperative of Kant. Protesters in this case may not like it if someone else affects their necessary services in order to fulfill their demands. You can use such thinkers while mentioning the ethical issues. The next one is against the greatest good. The 100% reservation demand is against the principle of greatest good to greatest number, as propounded by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, because such a demand may hamper the unity and integrity of nation, and it may also impact the exchange of culture among states. And the last one is lack of wisdom. On the part of protesters, there is a lack of wisdom because there are other tools which are available to put forward their demands, and shutdown is not the only and ultimate tool. In this way, we have discussed 7 ethical issues which are involved in this particular case. Now, what can be the way forward? Let us assume a hypothetical case study has been made and such a case has happened in a particular district, and in that district you are posted as DM. How you will handle that particular situation and what will be your way forward in that particular regard. Now, the way forward will include the long-term and mid-term solutions. The first one is create adequate employment opportunities. As such type of protests arises only in case of a deficit of adequate employment opportunities in state. State should try to create employment to fulfill its obligations under social contract. The next one is promote entrepreneurship. It is the fact that employment in both public and private sector can be created up to a certain extent, and hence it is more feasible to train masses to become entrepreneurs. And in this particular regard, Startup India, Stand Up India, and One District One Product schemes can be used by district administration so that the youngsters will become employment providers instead of employment seekers. The next one is people should behave responsibly. A message needs to be communicated to people who are equal partners in maintaining the law and order situation in state to make moral obligation on people to behave responsibly. The next one is prompt administration. To deal with such statewide protests, administration needs to be prompt in its actions so that it can manage the situation effectively. The best of the officers who have expertise in that particular field can be deployed to handle such situations. The last one is participatory approach. There is a need to adopt a participatory approach which involves all the stakeholders. It includes police, students, district administration, and labor unions. So in this way, we can handle such kind of situation in an effective manner. Try to brainstorm your ideas on these lines so that in a final exam, you will be able to come up with lot of ideas and solutions which can be written in such kind of case study. The next topic of today's discussion is based on this news which has appeared on page number 6 in The Hindu. It basically talks about India-UAE cooperation for regional food security. The United Arab Emirates, whose food security has been built on imports from global markets, is now focusing on twin objective of food access and readiness to confront the supply chain crisis. In this context, India UAE Food Security Partnership stands to benefit from multiple points of convergence. As India has built its status as a global agri export powerhouse, India acted as provider of food to developing countries. This topic comes under General Studies paper 2, in which bilateral relations is directly mentioned, and UPSC has previously asked questions bilateral relations. In 2020, the significance of Indo-US defense deals over Indo-Russian defense deals was asked. And in 2022, a direct question on I2U2 was asked, in which India, Israel, UAE and USA are the members. So by looking at these questions, we get to know the importance of bilateral relations in foreign policy. In today's discussion, we will first try to analyze the evaluation of agricultural partnership between India and UAE, and then we will discuss the India-UAE relations in general, the challenges involved, and then we will analyze the key features of the recent comprehensive economic partnership agreement which India and UAE has signed. Firstly, we will evaluate the agri partnership of India and UAE. The first one talks about India as exporter of agri products. As a part of its G20 presidency, India is promoting the consumption and farming of millets, which are nutritious, drought resistant and sustainable crops that demonstrate the resilience focus that India offers to the global food security challenges. The next one is investments made by UAE in India. During I2U2 summit in July last year, UAE committed $2 billion of investment towards constructing food parks in Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, and it also signed an agreement on food security corridor. Corridor could potentially commence a route for foods made and processed in India, beginning their outbound journey on Indian coast of Arabian Sea, passing through UAE towards major international markets. It is an important area of agri partnership. The third one is diversification of food reserves by UAE. As UAE is focusing on diversifying its food reserves and it can leverage the benefits of its strategic location, it is strategically located in and around the areas of sea trade. So it can serve as India's food export gateway to West Asia and African region. The fourth one is Dubai Multi-Commodities Center. It is UAE's largest free trade zone, which is an agri-trading and commodity platform to link Indian farmers to food companies in UAE. Further, it gives millions of Indian farmers the opportunity to reach out the UAE's food ecosystem. It will bring prosperity to Indian farming community. The last one is consortium of UAE-based entities. They are investing up to $7 billion in mega food parks, contract farming, and the sourcing of agri-commodities in India. So this was the broad evaluation of agricultural partnership between India and UAE, and India's G20 presidency offers an opportunity for both India and UAE to showcase viable strategies that can forge the basis of food security in Global South. Here we have discussed the partnership specifically to agriculture sector. Now we will analyze India-UAE relations in general. India-UAE relations acquire significance in the backdrop of consistent goals between the two, which are highlighted by Abu Dhabi's Economic Vision of 2030, which focuses on diversification of economy. And on the other hand, the West Asia policy of India, which focuses on extended neighborhood, in which UAE is an important partner. Further, both sides recognize the security of Gulf and Indian Ocean region. Here you can see the Gulf area and the Indian Ocean. Both are the members of newly formed Middle East Quad, which is also known as I2U2, on which UPSC in 2020 asked a question. And large Indian diaspora, which contributes cheap and highly skilled labor force to UAE. And this workforce is the bedrock of economy of UAE. So these were the foundational pillars on which India and UAE relations are based. To take forward our discussion, now we will analyze economic and geopolitical basis of India-UAE relationship. The first one here is UAE's Economic Vision 2030. It is a long-term economic diversification strategy which focuses on advancing knowledge industries by building skilled workforce, world-class infrastructure, and integrated business environment. This is necessary for UAE as Gulf economies try to diversify from oil-based industries. For example, Saudi Arabia. The next is investments. UAE investments have reached up to $11 billion, which makes it the ninth largest source of FDI in India. Further, UAE's Sovereign Wealth Fund sees India as key growth drivers and targets for outward investment. The next one is security and geopolitical outlook. As the security of Gulf and Indian Ocean region is important for both the countries, and they have expanded their cooperation to maritime security, counter-terrorism, to make the region stable and prosperous. The fourth one is advanced technology and knowledge economy. UAE has stepped up its efforts to invest in development of knowledge economy by expanding golden visa permits to attract best minds. These are 10 years visa which are granted to doctors, engineers, PhD scholars or specialists in high-end technology. Both the countries are also cooperating in space sector. UAE's Space Agency and India's ISRO have developed nanosatellites and are likely to work together on Emirates Mars mission. The fifth one is related to defense and security. Desert Eagle is a bilateral exercise between Indian Air Force and UAE's Air Force. In addition to this, they also hold joint naval exercise which is named as Gulf Star 1 to lay strong foundation for maritime security cooperation. And UAE has forbidden Pakistan to use UAE's territory for anti-India activity. Hence, it plays an important role in building strong partnership with UAE. We have broadly discussed the areas of cooperation between two countries. Now we will analyze the challenges between India and UAE. The first one is, as UAE is a part of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which frequently raises the Kashmir issue. So it became a point of contention between the two countries. The next one is, Dubai has developed as a seat of underworld and organized crime. And India is continuously fighting to eliminate such crime. The third one is money laundering. UAE has become a hub of money laundering, and many people who are involved in illegal practices are laundering their money in Dubai. Hence, it became an important issue between these two countries. And the last one is Arab-Iran rivalry. It poses challenge for balancing India's relation between UAE and Iran. As India has cordial relations with both the countries, so it is posing a serious challenge to India's relations with these two countries. As many of you are aware that India and UAE has signed a comprehensive economic partnership agreement which will provide many benefits to the economies of these countries. Now, what are the benefits of this free trade agreement? The first one is, it is likely to boost the trade between India and UAE from $60 billion to $100 billion in next 5 years. The second one is, it will provide greater market access for the products like textiles, gems and jewelry. 80% of India's export to UAE will become duty-free. Hence, it will directly benefit the exporters of India. The fourth one is regarding jobs. This comprehensive partnership agreement is likely to create 5 lakh jobs in India in different sectors like jewelry, gems and textiles. And a quick recap to our discussion. First of all, we have discussed the context and the relevance of bilateral relations in mains exam. We have also discussed the agri partnership between India and UAE. We have discussed the foundational pillars of India-UAE relations, economic and geopolitical basis, the challenges, and the recent comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Moving on to the next topic of today's discussion, which is based on this particular news, which has appeared on front page of The Hindu. It basically talks about population trends by United Nations, and it says, India is set to overtake China to become world's most populous country by the middle of 2023. Population and associated issues is an important theme under General Studies Paper 1, and UPSC has previously asked questions on population. In 2019, it asked that empowering women is the key to control population growth. In 2021, UPSC asked about the objectives of population education, which makes this area important for our discussion. In today's discussion, we will analyze the factors which determine the population growth, the present population policy of India, and why there is need to shift the focus of national population policy, and what are the changes required. So firstly, we will discuss the factors that determine the population growth. The first one is infant mortality. Now there is empirical correlation which suggests that high IMR level leads to greater desire for children. For example, if IMR rate is high, that means there are less chances that newborn babies will survive. Hence, to counter that fear, people tend to produce more children. The second one is early marriage. If girls are married at early age, then there are high chances that they will bear more children as compared to the girls who are being married at later age. The third one is level of education. The fertility usually declines with the increase in education levels of women. How it will happen? If the women are educated, they will convince their partners and use contraceptives to reduce the reproduction level. The next one is use of contraceptives. As per the National Family Health Survey, only 50% of currently married women use some method of family planning. So the other 50% are not using any method at all, and it results into more childbirth. And the last one is sun meta preference. As it was highlighted by Economic Survey also, it is a phenomena where parents continue to produce children until the desired number of sons are born. So it leads to high birth rates. Here we have discussed the factors which plays an important role in the population growth. Now we will see the focus areas of existing population policy. Population control was the major focus of national population policy that was unveiled in 2000. The focus area was to control the population, and the immediate objective was to address the unmet needs of contraception, healthcare infrastructure, and to provide integrated service delivery for basic reproductive and child health care. It also has a midterm objective to bring the total fertility rate to replacement level by 2010, and the long-term objective was to achieve stable population by 2025. This was the focus area of our present population policy. Now, why there is a need to shift the focus of existing population policy? The first reason is TFR reduced. As per the National Family Health Survey 5, the country's TFR is already less than 2.1, which is the replacement rate. Hence, the present population growth is due to population momentum. That means population continue to grow because there are large number of people in the reproductive age. As we all know, India is one of the youngest nation across the world countries. So India is going to achieve the long-term objective of stable population within few decades, even without the active focus on population control. So it is an important reason for the required shift. And the second one is aging population. According to the report of Ministry of Statistics, the number of citizens over age of 60 years has jumped by 35% from 7 crore people in 2001 to 10 crore people in 2011. In this context, the active focus on population control will prove to be counterproductive, and India can learn from China's failed experience of enforcing stringent population control measures that resulted in aging population and shrinking workforce. And the third one is skewed sex ratio. Due to the small family norms, there is a higher preference for male child. And if government continues to pursue its population control policies, then there are high chances of female feticide and infanticide. In the light of these three important issues, we will now analyze the changes which are required in our population policy. The first one is there is a need to change the discourse of population policy from population control to population welfare. In this way, we can ensure that our population is happy, healthy, and productive. The next one is management of aging population. It is estimated that by 2050, there will be more people older than 60 years than those below 15 years. So, the new population policy should focus on management of aging population, and government should focus specifically on these people so that their quality of life will be improved. The third one is balancing the sex ratio. As we have discussed in previous slide about skewed sex ratio, and in the backdrop of declining child sex ratio, the new focus should be on balancing the sex ratio, and it can be done through media campaigns, education, social awareness, and women empowerment. And the last area which needs to be focused is variations in demographic transition. Though the overall fertility rate of India has come down, the demographic transition has not been uniformed across the states. Some states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu achieved the replacement rate much earlier than other states. So, the new population policy should take into account the variations in demographic composition of the states. In this way, we can conclude our answer related to population policy. A quick recap to our discussion is, firstly, we have discussed the context, then we have seen its relevance for the UPSC mains exam. We have analyzed the factors which determine the population growth, the focus of existing population policy, and why there is a need for the shift and what are the changes which are required for population management. That's all for today's discussion. Thank you for watching today's DNS. Stay tuned for upcoming sessions which will improve your understanding over various topics which are coming in everyday newspaper.